What's good, everybody? This is Chris. So today's episode, we're gonna start this new format. Let us know how you like it. We're gonna go through and give you guys a tip for the cannabis industry. Then on the next section, go through on the news. Today, we're gonna talk about some of the federal stuff that's happening. And then we're gonna wrap it up with a market analysis. So I got a lot of good stuff on today's episode, especially if you're in the cannabis market and the wholesale market. Make sure to check out the market analysis because I got a lot of good info in there. Anyway, today I wanna give you guys a tip of the day. No matter what stage of cannabis you're either working in or aspiring to be in or thinking about being in, the best way to really capitalize off it is to understand the inner workings, the foundation of it. And when you can understand the fundamentals, you have that solid foundation to build a strong empire on. No matter if you're gonna be a bud tender, a salesperson, broker, cultivator, distributor, manufacturer, it's all the same. And it's almost more so important nowadays with the corporate industry that's entering into the market to understand this and to embrace this. And it's more important for these corporate people coming in from other industries and other backgrounds to not take this lightly. And this is gonna be the secret to their transition. What I'm getting at is, the cannabis people have been exposed to it a little bit more than the corporate people, but both sides, the more they embrace this cannabis energy, the better that they can perform in the market. The way I like to think about it is as above, so below. Everything starts from, ultimately a seed, right? That energy comes up. As it grows, it's a vibration. If you watch it on time lapse, it's moving back and forth. So this vibration effect is the key to life. And it starts from the seed coming out. The plant grows bigger, grows the flowers. And in all these steps, it's just like a person. It's maturing, and its experiences, its environment, all these things affect its output vibration. So if it's in a bad environment, it's not gonna grow good. It's gonna be a low vibrational plant. If you have a great harvest in a good environment, good higher vibrational plant. This frequency comes from the plants while it's growing. And not only that, but now that's taking up space in our environment too. So now us as humans are interacting with that cannabis energy, whether we like it or not. Throughout California, throughout other states that are legalizing, there's more and more cultivations coming up. So now that energy is now ballooning out of all these areas, right? So you wanna have your vibration aligned with what you're doing. So if you're coming in from that greed perspective or from a corporate, just spreadsheet numbers like, okay, this, and this, we just got to do this, and this, and then we'll have results of this, and this. That's great, and that's needed, and that's what the cannabis people usually lack, is that planning and organization. On the flip side, that planning and organization isn't going to be 100% key to the success, and it's going to be a combination of both. And so what happens is you'll see these corporate people come in with their mindset and their vision and their thoughts of how it should be or how they've done it in the past or how other industries do it. And that's the quickest way to get humbled. Say you're in distribution and you're coming at it from a corporate mind state and you're not taking into account the cannabis aspects of it. If you're just looking at it cut and dry as Excel sheets and financial planning, it's gonna over time potentially backfire. You need a good hybrid of both of these. And so understanding and tapping into this cannabis energy is important, and it's an essence, and you can pick it up from people. You can tell, like if they got it, if they don't got it, if they know what they're talking about, if they're just bragging, if they're just repeating what they've heard from other people and they're good at retaining big words and concepts and then just repeat that and make themselves sound like an expert. And that happens all the time. You're approaching the end goal with the wrong source vibration. Whether you like it or not, we're all connected. We're all interacting with all these energies. And so like I said, the cannabis energy is becoming more and more and more prevalent because there's so much of it being expanded throughout the country, throughout the world. There's so many more people getting involved with it, and it changes so many people's lives for the better in most cases. So, and don't get me wrong, it can change people's lives in the wrong too, and that's what I'm showing here on the channel, is how to do it the right way so you're not losing, because it's very easy to lose. It's actually easier to lose in cannabis than it is to win. The biggest trick to winning is getting your foundation, your core frequency right, being aligned with the right reasons why you're in the cannabis space, why you're in this specific industry or realm that you want to be in, distribution, cultivation, etc. So you really want to have the right intentions, and if you don't, there's a million other ways to make $1 million, and there's tons more ways to do it with less stress, less headache, less risk. So if you're just getting into cannabis, because it's the new trending thing. I'll give you $1 million tip right now, and just don't do it, because you're not gonna prolong all the ups and downs enough to really hang in there and make it worth it. And so you might as well just figure out what it is you want to invest your time and money into, and pursue that, because you'll have a much better outcome than if you're just getting into it because you think you're gonna get rich, because it's an emerging market, people want to make money out of it, etc. So it's just some tips to think about and to help you enter in the space no matter where you're at, whether you're a bud tender, whether you're an investor, whether you're an owner, operator, manager, grower, driver, doesn't matter. Thanks for watching. We're gonna go into the next segment here and give you some news about the cannabis space. Today, I wanted to mention that we got Connecticut added to the list of legalized states. And this is just a small win in a bigger sea of this legalization battle. And I'm not here to talk about Connecticut specifically. Those have its own laws. I don't even think they're rolled out yet. And the same with all the states. They all have their own laws. And it's probably how it's gonna end up being for a while, because even if it's federally legal, the states are still gonna have the final say, and even below that from the counties to the cities. So if they want to do things differently or have different laws or even ban it out completely outright, they have that option. Regardless of federally legalization, you're always still gonna have to deal with state and local laws anyway. So in reference to that, Connecticut's gonna have its own laws roll out, New York's having its own laws, California has its own laws, Nevada has its different laws. What we'll probably see happen sooner, and which will be beneficial to the industry, from everything from the producers to the consumers, is interstate commerce. And right now it's banned from dealing from any licensed cannabis from one state into another state. There's also been a bill introduced where they say only adjoining licensed states can do business. So that way you're never crossing through an illegal state to conduct business. So that could be a potential step towards federal legalization, is the interstate commerce, and how they roll that out is yet to be seen. But if that does, it's gonna provide, like I said, it's gonna open up huge channels of the economy, of the cannabis economy, from the producer to the brands, to the retailers, and especially to the consumer, because not only will it help bring the prices down a bit, but it's gonna up the quality and consistency. It's ultimately gonna get to where you see convenience stores with the same bags of chips, packages of candy, cans of soda, bottles of beer, like everything. You can go from California to Connecticut to Massachusetts to Florida, like other than certain brands being regional, you can get a consistent product. You can always get a Coke and it's gonna taste exactly like a Coke no matter where you're at. That's where I think the end goal of cannabis wants to be. Just that concept is so much harder than any of us can imagine. First of all, because of just the inherent quality of cannabis is very hard to replicate and scale up and streamline. That's why the exportation from the states that have the capacity to do it is gonna be important. And once it can do that, we can get consistent products. Say everyone references California cannabis to be some of the best quality and consistency. Now say if you could get that in Connecticut, because Connecticut's environment in winters and stuff like that, they can't even grow the types of weed that we grow out here. As a consumer, they have really no choice. They're stuck with whatever the bubble of their state can produce, and these new states are very immature, so they're just learning the ropes, and so the consumers are getting potentially bad products. So it's going to be exciting to see how this rolls out. And there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of backpedaling with politicians and regulators and stuff like that. It's gonna take many years. And that's why I say in other videos too, you have a time right now where you can get in and be part of this big ball of momentum that's gonna be growing and growing year by year. So the next thing that brings us into is talking about federal legalization. We're just talking about for Delta-9. So Delta-9 is the active molecule in cannabis that gets you that's psychoactive. There's another one called Delta 8. Delta 8 is so close to Delta 9 that it actually is psychoactive. Think of it like a audio spectrum of frequencies. Delta 8 is right next to Delta 9, and so Delta 9 is what's federally illegal, but you can isolate the Delta 8. It's like a different radio station on your radio, and you can just pull out that Delta 8. So by doing that, you skip the complications that come along with Delta 9, and there's a lot of complications, a lot of licensing, a lot of hurdles, regulatory stuff. And that's what we're dealing with on a daily basis out here in California. It's extremely costly. There's tons of taxes involved. The problem with the Delta 8 products is they're mass produced with no regulation, no standards, no health protections. There's no mandatory testing. If there is any testing, that the test results that they may show you, they're not independently done. There's no system to actually vet out those test results. So they could be showing you a test result from a whole different product for all you know, and just showing you the test and saying, yeah, it's a totally clean product. But they could have just been pumping it out and not even knowing that this last batch has, cadmium and arsenic and all these chemicals in it that then when you actually smoke and you burn it, some of these things create other byproducts, and you're actually creating these poisonous gases that you're smoking. So as a consumer, you should really find brands that you feel safe with, that you identify with, that can guarantee that you're getting those safe test results if Delta 8 is a product you're going to be using. And then if you're in a licensed regulated state, make sure that they have their own rigid, independent testing protocols, and that there's no ways to poke holes in that and cheat the system. These are all just things to keep on your mind, because with the federal legalization coming, with the federal laws, these are all going to be components of this whole big picture rolling out. All right, guys, I'm back with the market segment today, and again, we're in mid-July. So mid-July 2021. Years prior to this, at this time, what we're seeing is an influx of all the fresh depths are starting to hit the market. They started coming out last week. They're really gonna kind of start peaking out into August. So from now until then, especially on the really good quality depths, we're gonna see really high prices on those. But usually what's happened in past years is we would have a drought leading up to this time. So we would have all the buyers thirsty for good product from, say, May, June. They might not have the selection that they wanted, and they were forced to buy lower quality stuff. And then July, all this fresh stuff would come in, so people were willing to pay the top dollar for it because the market just wanted something fresh. So this year that didn't really happen. There was so much grown last year that it lasted through these spring and summer months where the drought usually starts. It was well supplied this year. So that's a good thing for consumers. It keeps the price down. It keeps their options open for product. It's not so good thing for the supply chain and the producers, because not only did they lose money on their pound prices, which were lower than last year's, but they also lost money on bad product that they held too long, hoping that the price was going to go up, and instead they held it too long, the price never went up, and now the new product's already hitting the market, so now all last year's product is worth even less. They basically missed the peak price on the last year's product. If you're still holding last year's product, whatever price you can get, if it's a reasonable price, take it. Don't be greedy, because it's gonna come bite you in the ass. You're not gonna be able to sell your flower any easier a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now. It's just gonna get more brown, smell worse, and there's gonna be better quality stuff for cheaper. So one of the ways I know this is happening is you can look at the indoor trim market. By looking at that, it's such a small market. It gets affected easily by the fresh light depth trim that hits the market, because you can get almost same quality product, but you get a lot more volume from the light depth trim. Just might not be as potent, but you have plenty of volume, so you can run more to get those yields up. The point is, indoor trim is usually sought after for its high yield, high terpene content, and just good quality ratio compared to like bad biomass, where you have a lot of non-productive stuff in there that's just taking up weight. That lowers your percentage yields. So with indoor trim, you have less weight, but with higher content, both terpenes and THC. So you get a much better yield and a better smelling product. But with the fresh depths, you can get almost the same. So what we saw happening was on the licensed trim prices, consistently we were seeing $100 a pound for licensed quality indoor trim. The past few weeks, that's plummeted down to $50 a pound. And that's literally 100% decrease. We saw that because all the fresh depth trim that's coming out, and you can get that probably for anywhere from 35 to 50 a pound. Like I said, you're getting similar quality products and yields, so why would you pay $100 for something that you can get for a third or half the price? So what happened is the indoor farms had to come down on their trim price. Unless they're vertically integrated and they're just producing their own trim or running their own trim to produce their own products, that's a whole different story and a whole different price margin. We're just talking about the wholesale bulk trim. So this is a fraction of the market. It's gonna balloon up, and you'll see that in the flower sales. It's just gonna take longer because trim's such a small fraction of it. Flower's a much bigger chunk of the market, is the majority of the market. So we're not seeing that yet. We're starting to see the flower prices come up a little bit. They're gonna stabilize out, and then they'll probably come up a little bit more after all the good stuff is sold off the market and selection starts to go down. So all the good in-demand strains, whatever's left, is gonna go up in price, and then all the out-of-demand strains are gonna go down in price. So as I said, the prices shot up. They kind of leveled out a little bit. They're gonna go back up again, and then what's gonna happen is we'll see indoor prices somewhat mimic that, but it's gonna be in its own category. So we'll still see indoor prices, depending on the quality and the strain, anywhere from say 1,800 all the way up to 3,800 potentially, or even more in some cases. But that's not as consistent on volume, or it's heavily reliant on brand. So those high-end prices aren't everyday occurrences. So I'm just giving you broad ranges here. Other than that, follow the channel and the Instagram, and I'll put out my tips of when's good buying times, what to be careful of in the cannabis market at that point in time, that month or that week, because it is dynamic. It changes, if not daily, it changes weekly and monthly for sure. So you really got to take these indicators and these seasonal things, as well as market changes, anywhere from the way that these new bills just went into effect that I talked about earlier on the episode. That can affect a lot of things too, is all the way down to the market price, the demand, the supply, all that. So there's a lot of factors at play here. I'm really just trying to give you a broke down step-by-step thing that's gonna just give you the best path to making some money in the cannabis industry. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. I hope you got some information out of this and learned some things. On the channel itself, that's what we're here for, is I'm bringing years of the licensed cannabis space experience, and not just the good things, but all the bad things, the losses, the time, the money, everything. Not just myself, but my network that I'm connected to too. It's all valuable. And that's what this channel is here for, is to show you how you can skip a lot of those pitfalls and fast track to just a successful operation. Don't think that there's an easy way to that. It's always gonna be tough. You gotta put in the work and you gotta put in the dedication. That being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe here on YouTube, turn on the notifications. All this stuff helps for the algorithm, and that's really how this page is supported. So just reciprocate all the information to me, just engage with my content, and that's all I really ask. Other than that, we have the content courses coming out on a dedicated app. So once that's out, I'll let you guys know. You can start actually subscribing to the detailed content courses step by step, and those are really going to teach you tons and tons of invaluable information. We'll see you next week. Leave in the comments any suggestions, questions, any topics you'd like me to talk about in future episodes. Thanks, guys. Thanks.